and welcome to TV Ranking, a new series where I look at some of my favourite TV shows and rank them season-wise from best to worst. This time, talking about The Shield, ranking each season from 1 to 7. Starting with Season 1, which was a great introduction to the show, where we see a multitude of stories and characters, whether it be the detectives, Wackenbuck or Dutch, and Claudette Wims. One who's doing his best to show how great of a detective he is, and the other making him a better detective by getting him to present his theories to make him as strong as possible. We see officers Danny and Julian, one a Christian male struggling with his sexuality, and the other trying to rank up whilst being involved with another cop. We have the captain of the department, David Aceveda. He is trying to lower crime figures whilst also trying to start his political career as the captain who fought against corrupt cops. Those stories, all well and good, don't compare to the main characters of the show, that being the strike team led by Vic Mackey. On the team we have Shane Vendrell, Ronnie Gardocki and Curtis Lemansky, or just Len. We see them fight crime in all dirty manners and even being criminals themselves, whether it be taking money off dealers, threatening criminals, stealing evidence, whether it be drugs or weapons to frame criminals, or even killing cops. The first season deals with very interesting hot button topics at the time, all while being very violent and entertaining. A great start for what becomes a very dark program. Ranking wise is at number 4. Favourite episodes are Episode 3, Episode 10, Episode 13. Season 2 kicks off shortly after the events of Season 1. We see the strike team themselves are making mistakes. We see David Aceveda and Vic Mackey making a mutual trust to protect not only their careers but the barn itself when a civilian auditor investigates the barn. We see new high stakes for the whole of Farmington when a new drug dealer, Armadillo Quintero, comes into town and ruins the strike team's ties to drug gangs. Unlike the other dealers they have to deal with, this one is smart and knows the law, leaving Vic to play dirty and reckless. The strike team see a prize which could keep them in profit for the rest of their lives, but it's highly illegal and could get them killed or worse. We see Detective Wackenbuck make a huge mistake on one case, which turns him pessimistic towards his later cases, as he believed a woman who seemed innocent when really she was more sinister than you think. It's a great watch seeing these characters in more tense situations all round and diving deeper into their personal issues. Whilst I thought a few things were lacking compared to the first season, other than that, it's a great season. Ranking wise is at number 7. My favourite episodes are Episode 3, Episode 6, Episode 13. Next up is Season 3, and we see the strike team trying to keep clean and not get in any particular radar after the events of Season 2, only to find they keep digging into a hole that seems never ending, something which leads to the inevitable breakup of the strike team. We see Detective Wims manage a new squad from a different precinct called the Decoy Squad, but loses a promotion she was promised when she goes digging into a DA's personal life. We see Julian paired up with a new guy and see him being more aggressive and not caring towards the people he arrests or other citizens. Danny returns and is paired up with him, but even she starts to see the carelessness in his behaviour. David Aceveda's story is interesting as something sinister happens to him. We see him dealing with it and even seeing the character taking a darker path. Overall, it was a really great season, and the build up to the strike team's disbanding was intriguing to watch. Ranking wise is at number 6. My favourite episodes are Episode 2, Episode 4 and Episode 10. Next is Season 4, which feels like a new show. So we get a new female captain who's making changes which separates certain people who think she's maybe going too far with the laws, and sadly it gets 2 officers killed. This season introduces a new villain, that being Antoine Mitchell, an ex-gangster who claims to be about black power, but really is slinging black tar heroin and using cops to help him. Those cops being Shane Vendrell and his new partner Army. We see Vic and the rest of the strike team trying to stop Shane as well as Antoine from winning, and it's interesting to see Shane going against Vic and his team. With others, we see Detective Wims and Wackenbuck being messed around with after investigating a fellow DA, and the 2 detectives feel their skills are being wasted because of petty vendetta with the DA office, which sadly Claudette won't apologise for. We see yet another conflict of interest with the patrol officers Danny and Julian. As well, Danny's happy to feel like she's doing something that matters by being involved with the gang protocol. Julian feels it's racially based, and to him it's breaking boundaries and it's going too far, like breaking into a church to check for drugs. I think this was a great season and had a great amount of conflict with so many characters and a great deal of drama. The ending also felt a somewhat happy one, especially compared to the previous three, but this is the only happy ending this show will ever have. Ranking wise is at number 3. Favourite episodes are Episode 5, Episode 10 and Episode 13. Season 5 was amazing from the very start, seeing the strike team being dirty as usual. In this season we see the strike team being investigated by internal affairs, but specifically John Kavanagh, played by the great Forrest Whitaker, who goes into the deep end trying to expose the team, but falling short and only hooking one fish, that being Curtis Lemansky. We see a new officer who Julian's partnered up with but isn't particularly good at the job and is only saved because of Dutch. We see the end of Dutch and Claudette's partnership as Claudette finally gets promoted to captain and Dutch gets paired up with Billings, who seems lazy compared to Dutch. The show's ending was quite dark one as well. We see a protagonist pass away, something that follows the next 2 seasons with great but very dark and sinister results. Ranking wise is at number 2. Favourite episodes are Episode 8, Episode 10 and Episode 11. Up next is Season 6, which was the shortest of the show's seasons but doesn't take anything away from what the show brought. We see Vic go down a dark path seeking revenge on a fallen colleague / friend, unknowingly attacking falsely accused people, and when he finds the truth he stops at nothing to have his revenge. We see Shane dealing with his actions the hardest and is seen as a traitor to the strike team, specifically Vic. Vic tries to secure his job by any means necessary while Claudette is desperately trying to have him replaced, which sadly doesn't succeed. Claudette not only has Vic's replacement inside the group, but she introduces Julian to the group, believing he's up to the task. We see Claudette struggling with her new role as captain, as she'll be fired if a certain case doesn't get closed quickly. Acevedo, unbeknownst to him, is working with a cartel-connected businessman who uses him and Vic for intel on his shady business. Overall, it was a great watch and has intense moments where you feel shocked and uncomfortable with characters' dark decisions they take, but eye-grabbing at the same time. Ranking wise is at number 5. Favourite episodes are Episode 2, Episode 4, Episode 7. Next is the last season, which was TV gold in my eyes, as not only do we see the strike team purposely start a war between the Arminians and the cartel, we see Vic and Ronnie attempt to have Shane killed, and after Shane realises he does the same but becomes an outlaw, using blackmail to get Vic to do his bidding, not knowing Vic still wants him dead, using any necessity available. Claudette and Dutch team up to finally take down Vic Mackey, and has some of the most intense moments on the show as they get so close but lose as well. Vic Mackey has a clever plan in play but has to jump through so many obstacles and has to let go of friends just so he can have the freedom they always wanted. But sadly he loses everything in the very bittersweet ending. Dutch is convinced he's got a suspect who's committed the perfect crime and believes this is the start of a serial killer, does anything to make sure he can stop him. Overall, it's a thrilling yet emotional rollercoaster and possibly one of the greatest TV endings of all time. Ranking wise is at number 1. Favourite episodes are Episode 8, Episode 12, Episode 13. The early 2000s had a handful of great television shows, this being one of them, and not only did it have great tension and each season intensifying it, but it was very action-packed, something very few shows could emulate. The only show I could possibly compare it to, which also had such intensity and action, is also my second favourite drama of all time, which is also my next and last video. That show is Breaking Bad.